Good morning. It's August 12th, 2012, and this is Shellie Enteen speaking to you from the Namaste Center. The Soulful Celebration, and my topic today is releasing special relationships, the obstacles to unconditional love and compassion. So, why am I speaking about this? This is pretty, it's sort of activating just to hear that, isn't it? Doesn't it kind of make you kind of go, whoa, somewhere inside, just to hear releasing special relationships? What does that mean? Do I have to give up my loved ones? No, it doesn't mean that at all. It means releasing, not having. That's what it means. And why the topic is coming up for me right now, I realized this morning on my way here, which is one of the great things about driving up into the mountains, is you get a lot of connection taking place. It's really interesting. And we are going to have an evolutionary shift at the end of this month. And do I mean we're all going up into another dimension? Yes, there it is. There it is.
Another dimension. God calling us.
Apparently that's what's going to happen. But what I was really thinking about was a shift in our journey together in awareness. As an astrologer, some of you know I'm an astrologer, some of you don't, but I am. And I have also a newsletter you can read and a blog talk radio show you can listen to. You can ask me about that if you're interested in those things. But whether you're interested in them or not, we are experiencing energies. And as a group mind, we partake of these energies. So we've been going through about 2.5 years of expanding our perception. If you think about it, has perception expanded greatly over the last couple of years in your own life and in the lives of your friends? Are people starting to see things a little bit differently? Well, when we get to the end of August, we're going to be focused on another learning curve. And this learning curve is it's a pretty intense one. It involves the signs of Taurus and Scorpio. And Taurus this time is our south node. That's the place we want to lift out of. And Scorpio becomes our north node, which is our evolutionary direction. And that sounds kind of strange too. But what it's about, Taurus, when it's negative. Everything's positive and negative here, right? We're in third dimensional world. We have yin and yang, plus and minus, right hand, left hand. We have that duality. So when Taurus is negative, it holds on. I mean, persistence, they found that particle. They called it a God particle recently. That particle is apparently the thing that causes persistence of form. We're in a manifestation in third dimension of permanence, things staying the way. We kind of count on that thing to stay the way it is because I'm leaning up against it, So we're grateful to the God particle. But there's the other principle, which is when it's time to change, when it's time to transform, right? And what is our nature regarding that ability to let go? There was this I was thinking about this country song, you gotta know when to hold them, know when to fold them. That's a profound truth in our life, isn't it? Know when to hold it, know when to fold it, or release it, let it go, drop it. And sometimes when we're in a certain state of fear, energy, it's hard for us to let go, really hard. And especially since we are in the belief about this physical dimension. And this is where special relationship topic comes in. Because those of us who are in the Course in Miracles know when we hear that special relationship little phrase, that we're talking about what happens when the ego believes it's separate from the Creator and the One, and it becomes frightened. And What I was interested in learning recently was that if any of you are familiar with the Kabbalah, which apparently the person speaking next week is going to be quite familiar with, that is also true in this book of ancient mysticism. It's a discussion about, there is a discussion about how we separate out, we believe we separate it out. In the Kabbalah, it talks about God retreating from this manifestation, which we kind of get in that story of Adam and Eve in the garden. We get that thought that God leaves us. And it's our thinking, it's our perception and focus, because we are in an appearance of separation. You don't think you're me, right? I mean, I gotta tell you, I don't think I'm you. I really think I'm looking at you from over here. All right, so what the problem is that, as even psychology has recognized, and they look at it in terms of the birth trauma, okay, so that when we feel ourselves separated, we go into fear. We go into fear because of our literal survival on this level. Okay, so what is a body to do? When one believes one is a body, well, you know, we talked in my conversation on duality, to thinking, we talked about how we need to survive physically here, and what we will do in order to do that. In other words, we will believe what people tell us we need to believe, etc., so that we can continue to be accepted. And if some of you were here for the afternoon emotion code type release energy work that we did, one of the things that was stopping us from accepting our inner authority, which is a big issue for us right now, we've got to be hearing our own selves more than we hear what's outside of us, was rejection. That was one of the trapped fear emotions that is in the way. You know, we don't want to be rejected because why? Because if we're rejected, the body is not accepted, it's not going to be supported, and you know, there's nothing wrong with any of this. The thing is to notice it. And to notice it particularly today in the aspect of special relationship. Because what we do in order to survive is we create people, not just people, but we'll start there, around us who are our champions. Okay, there are people, whether they're your family members or your friends or a group or your country, whatever it is that we focus on as this is what's going to keep me safe, truly. Now, there's nothing wrong with having special people. There's nothing wrong with loving someone and feeling yourself attracted to a certain individual. There's nothing wrong with this. The thing to do is to go in and understand where it's coming from and allow yourself to understand that the first love we have to have is the love of the separated self. Right? Because love and fear can't exist in the same place. So if we truly embrace our experience now, people like Eckhart Tolle have been speaking about this, and Michael Brown and all these types of new teachers, embrace this experience is to embrace the self in love instead of fear. Right? And that's why they say, you know, self-love comes before love of others. You know, it's not that narcissistic self-love that, you know, I'm going to do what I like, and, you know, it's not that kind of self-love. It's being present with the self and accepting and loving every moment. If I'm loving myself right now, I am loving being here. I'm loving seeing what I see right now. I'm in agreement with it. I'm in acceptance. I'm in affinity with it. That allows me to love me, right? So the difference between not loving yourself and loving yourself is that once we have special relationships, and it doesn't have to be people. You can have a special relationship with plants, but you're not that crazy about fish, okay? Or, it sounds silly, but, or you can have a really special relationship with dogs, but you don't like cats. There's all kinds of, we have special relationships with the creation. So that level of feeling that this is something that keeps me in a space of strength, whereas that would not, says I don't feel strong inside myself. Okay, that's what it's saying. So if we're in that kind of a space, then when we have that special relationship with another person, they better do something that makes me feel like I'm okay. And I may have my list. We all know this. I have a list of what it looks like if you're behaving the way you need to behave in order to be that special person, right? And that's why, when people don't behave in that way, we kind of sometimes say, well, that's the end of you in my life, right? And we can feel like it's very important to do that, because why? Because we believe we have to protect that self. We have to protect it. Now, I know this is a very heavy topic, and usually I'm a little fluffier than this, right? But this is an important thing for us to start to just explore it because of this evolutionary change. Because the evolutionary change that we're going to go through during this period of time is going to require us to transform that need to hold clutch onto that manifest thing-like experience in terms of all of creation. We're going to have to know when to go with the flow and allow transformation in everything, in all of our experience, which includes our beliefs, but also in terms of what we are looking at as the truth about what's right and who's right and who's wrong. And I think the John Denver song had a piece about that. Somebody's got to lose for someone else to win. I invite you to look at the political campaign as a spiritual lesson. Instead of getting involved, and it's so hard not to, because fear comes up. Big fear comes up. On Facebook. Oh boy, I love Facebook, but it is really a great place to watch myself and others react, okay? I invite you to see this as a dance of special relationship. Because, you must ask yourself at a certain point in time, why does somebody have to win and somebody have to lose? I invite you to look at the Olympics that way. Look at the Olympics as a dance of special, okay? Because that's what we're looking at. This one is able and this one is not. This is very challenging to us. It's challenging to me. It's challenging to me to speak about it, because I know that as I speak about it, I'm receiving this information. I'm not owning it and giving it to you. As I speak, I'm receiving it. And so now I've turned on this little light in my own head, which is, okay, Shellie, let's look at how we go through this week. And when I look, I'm saying to myself, it's not about making me wrong, though, okay? Because the minute you say, well, I shouldn't have this, you've just fallen right back in, to not loving yourself and not being in harmony with what is. In harmony with what is, we are this now, but we are evolving beyond this. If you are the type of thinker that is going to allow this oneness and this paradigm shift to take place, all we're doing is looking at the obstacles. There are some obstacles, otherwise we'd be there already. So the obstacles are present, they're perfect, they're teachers. In every moment, we can monitor this experience of alignment with what is. And we can feel when we're not, because we're going to be feeling some fear. I mean, I personally wish that we could see color frequencies around us. I wish that, because it would make it so easy. We'd be able to see when that beautiful pink light that we were in for the meditation is just shining and bright and connecting to all things. And then we'd notice if a little sort of murkiness starts to filter in, and we could say, oh, what is that frequency? Why is it here now? But it's a little trickier because we've got to just feel it. And we're not that used to doing that. If you meditate a lot, you're more aware in the moments of meditation of how you're feeling. And as we went in on the meditation today, we could start to feel shifts and changes as we opened up and released fear into the pink light of love. Well, for me now, it's going to be a challenge for myself. And I invite you to join me if you're so inclined, only if you're inclined, to feel, to literally feel when your light is shifting color and what colors are coming in. To literally understand what it is that's motivating that change. And to wonder if some self-love. Anybody here do EFT tapping other than me? Gordon does. That's another interesting system, and how I found that system was, I was saying to myself a couple of years ago, you know, you're doing all this work. What's missing? What's missing in all of this? Because something was missing, because I didn't have enough level of happiness. I could tell. That I could tell. And my friends could too. So I realized, I heard it. You need to learn to love yourself. And there's something in EFT that one of my friends came to me and she said, you know, you should really check this out. And I'm like, I don't need another thing. Do I need another thing? I have how many tools? And since 1977, how many tools can a person have? But she said this, right after I had gotten this message. She said, well, you know what's really interesting is that you start with the setup statement. And the setup statement before you start tapping is, even though, and it could be even though anything, even though I still feel separate from other people, it could be even though I am angry at John and I never want to speak to him again, it could be anything that's troubling or bothering you, even though, fill in the blank, I deeply and completely love and accept myself. And as you say that, you do 3 of those, and you can tap right here, by the way. I'm teaching you a little tool. If you want a tool, here's a tool. You can tap, they call this a karate chop point, right? So you can just tap there and say, even though I'm feeling very anxious right now because, you know, blah, 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 or whatever it is, or I have a pain, even though I have this pain, it's all the same. It's trapped energy into a frequency that isn't love. So you're just tapping on a meridian, Oriental medicine, and you're freeing it. Saying, even though I have this, I deeply and completely love and accept myself. You're shifting the frequency. And they go on, they tap here, and you say things, and you find yourself saying other things, and you start to see what's underneath what's going on with you. But the main thing you get to do is love and accept yourself exactly the way you are in that moment. And that's where transformation takes place. That's how it will be possible for us to use that highest vibration of Scorpio. Now, Scorpio is one of the signs of the zodiac that has 3 images. In the lower realm, we have the snake, the scorpion. And when we look at those creatures, we see one thing about them. They're vulnerable. They're very, very vulnerable. And so they're highly sensitive to their environment, and when they perceive any threat to the environment, zappo, right? If I can zap you before you zap me, I win, all right? So that's that level, right? But there's a second level. That's where most people vibrate up to at this point, which is the ego level of Scorpio. And eagles, sacred bird, the Native Americans, we have some Native Americans coming to town in September. I'll be hopefully getting one of them here. That level sees from great heights. That's the symbolism. To be able to rise above the circumstance and really perceive and utilize. So when we're up to that level of ego, we have great physicians and generals, people who know how to do in the world what's needed to be done. And that's a great quality for us. And that's a great quality to see what needs to transform. It's a wonderful quality, the ego. Understanding the vulnerability is necessary to even come up to ego, but it has that third level, and that level is the dove. That is the potential of our evolutionary direction in Scorpio North Node. And the dove is that peace, and where must peace come from? Love. So when someone is vibrating at the level of dove, they have been through those other 2 stages. They have accepted that as part of being here. And they now can radiate the compassion and love that is our highest goal. That's our highest goal, is to develop that spiritual nature. Right? So this is a great time for us to release special relationships from having to be the way we think they need to be in order for us to survive. Yeah. And start moving into higher aspects of relating to each other. Can you look at someone who's behaving oddly and know that underneath it they love you? Because that's the truth. The truth is always love underneath all of this fear. Can you see that? I was seeing this movie, Meryl Streep's new film, which I'm not telling you to run out and see unless you want to. It's, okay. I couldn't relate that well to it. But the counselor, the marriage counselor, I was thinking about that figure today, and they have that wonderful ability to sit there and hear attacks, like absolute out-and-out attacks on them personally, and be so clear that it's not about them. They're so clear about it that they can still be there with the person, not react, and know that what they're hearing is fear. And so it created this space of peace. And in that space of peace and acceptance, that's where our miracles are. So that's what I'm inviting you into today with this talk. Releasing obstacles to unconditional love and compassion is releasing our special relationships and knowing that we are love and we are connected to the divine source, always. And that's my message for today. My heavy-duty message.